Amber Phillips joins us now. She's a reporter at the Washington Post. Okay, Amber, 1 week to Inauguration Day. Are we going to see Trump and the intelligence community get on the same page after January 20th?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think this whole thing is a very public battle of what Trump has appeared to be struggling with internally since his election, which is how much deference does he give the intelligence community when they present him with facts or information or summaries of allegations, in this case, that he doesn't like or that could be politically damaging to him or put him in a box in some way. So far, it seems like he has absolutely no intention of giving deference to the intelligence community on this. You saw in those tweets, he puts intelligence in quotes and then underscores his point by saying, well, Russia said this didn't happen.
You know, Amber, it's been fascinating watching the hearings, the confirmation hearings on Capitol Hill. A number of Trump's cabinet nominees have come forward this week. Several of them, including his choice for CIA director, have actually contradicted Trump on Russia and on intelligence. What do you make of this?
Sure. It was a fascinating thing to watch. I spent a lot of time this week watching those hearings on C-SPAN, and it was very conspicuous to notice all 7 of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees departing from some of his key campaign promises. Even just saying in Mike Pompeo's case, who's Trump's pick to lead the CIA, saying absolutely not would he obey an order, hypothetically, by Donald Trump to reinstate waterboarding, for example, something Trump has suggested he wants to do. So the question is, what do I make of this? I think that the performance of these nominees asked more questions than it answered. You know, is Donald Trump going to give these people a long leash to carry out their vision of government? Or was this more traditional vision of Republican government, what Donald Trump had in mind all along? We just don't know at this point.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard to tell whether he wants a wide group of people with contrary opinions or if he's just going to call the shots and that'll be it. Your piece in the Washington Post, you looked at the other contradictions that have come up this week in the confirmation hearings. What can you tell us about those?
Sure. Once again, it was a lot of Donald Trump's key campaign promises. That's what's so striking about this. Of course, a president and the people he or she picks to be in his cabinet are not going to agree on everything. But all 7 of Donald Trump's nominees backed off in some way his key campaign promises. A border wall, for instance. Donald Trump has said this is going to stop illegal immigration. His pick for Department of Homeland Security to build that border wall has essentially said that's not enough, or not essentially, he directly said it. Going on down the list about Hillary Clinton and whether, he should appoint a special prosecutor. Jeff Sessions, for Attorney General, essentially said, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that our political disputes should turn into criminal disputes. So on down the line, Donald Trump's key campaign promises were essentially rebutted by his own picks.
And what people may or may not know, Amber, about these confirmation hearings are these folks are prepared, typically by the campaign. They're prepared for what responses, what questions that members of Congress will ask them. They know the hot button issues. So it's not like this was a surprise when they were asked these questions on Russia and on intelligence.
Exactly, yeah. And these guys, our understanding is that they had spent hours and hours and hours in practice rounds. You know, it's an intimidating thing to be up there in front of all these senators and all these cameras answering questions for hours on end. And they were advised by the Trump campaign, just kind of talk around Donald Trump. You know, we know that Democrats especially are going to want to ask you about what Donald Trump believes. If you could talk around him, that would be great, was more or less the advice. Taken as a whole, that ended up not happening. Again, the nominees, one after another, ended up contradicting Donald Trump.
Do you think that was intentional? Do you think it's something that the campaign sort of put out saying, go ahead and talk about this? Or do you think it just sort of happens when the pressure's on and you're under examination and scrutiny for that many hours?
Sure. So I have no inside information on, what the campaign said right before the hearings. We do know that Donald Trump tweeted early this morning he thought his cabinet nominees did a great job. I think he's very cognizant of the coverage that we're writing about, that they contradicted him. I think that this is emblematic of turning campaign promises into actual governance. Take, for example, his idea to spend $1 trillion on infrastructure, not unlike President Obama's stimulus. Well, if you look at the practicalities of that, as his transportation secretary pick said in her hearing, that's going to cost a lot of money that the government doesn't really have. So what I think is this is, lofty campaign rhetoric meeting the realities of governance.
I want to ask you before you go, Amber, several Republican senators, including John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, they've voiced their hesitation in confirming Rex Tillerson for Secretary of State. Do you think he can still make it through, or is he in jeopardy at this point?
It's tough to say because you only need 3 Republicans, if Democrats hold their opposition, to block his nomination. And like you pointed out, there are 3 Republicans who have very publicly expressed his concern. He was unwilling in his confirmation hearing to say that he would support further sanctions on Russia, or even that he would keep the current sanctions that President Obama just slapped on Russia. That concerned hawkish Senate Republicans. That being said, there could be some Democrats, some red state Democrats who are up for re-election in 2018 who might want to support Rex Tillerson and could make up for those lost 3 votes. I'd keep an eye on Senator Marco Rubio and see how he votes, because I think everyone else on the line in the Senate is doing the same thing.
Okay, we'll be watching Marco Rubio, our tip of the week from Amber Phillips. Thank you, Amber.
Thank you.